Hello, everybody. Thank you very much to stay till the end with me, last session before we hit the keynote. So we're going to discover Social Studio. So I am Ines Garcia. I'm an Agile coach and a Salesforce MVP. And well, together, these two things, what I do is help companies to become more agile whilst delivering Salesforce tech. And just a little bit about myself. I like to get busy, and I get really involved with the Trailblazer community, and you can find some of the content that I put out there in Salesforce Ben and Weekly. I support the Mentorship Center. Dreamole is another dreaming event. I'm one of the organizers there. And recent adventures, well, we have an Einstein Analytics meetup group here in London. And as well, I'm a Lightning champion. Also, last year, I released a game, like a card game, because I really like board games. So I basically mix all my Agile coaching into a pack of cards. And the name of the game is Birds, Nerds, and Thirds. So you'll have to figure it out why. And one of the things that happened recently is in Pluralsight, there is a play-by-play series courses about Salesforce, and I was given the opportunity to chip in with one of the courses about Agile for Salesforce. So enough about me. We get to Social Studio, right? So all of you at home, show of hands. I'm not going to say that, right? But Social Studio is an acquisition of Salesforce. And I'm surprised how often people doesn't really have the chance to play around with it. If the certification was still alive, probably by the end of the session, you were ready to take the exam. It's fairly simple. Now, Social Studio really is there to help an organization to put all the different social accounts that they have in one place. So it really waives any credentials sharing issue. Because you give access to the application rather to the native credentials of Twitter, for example, which there are some interesting stories when that happened, and perhaps an employee leaves. So, Social Studio have some core concepts, and I want to cover this quickly before than anything else. So one of the things that is really cool from Social Studio is the concept of topic profiles. And topic profiles really what allows you to do is to search things that you are interested on, that you are not necessarily being tagged, but you want to know about. So, for example, it may be a particular industry that you are interested on, and you can set certain keywords, and you will know what people are talking about. Or maybe your company has been mentioned, you just don't know about it because you haven't been necessarily tagged there. So you can fetch all this conversation. And that's not only from social media sites, but it's from forums, blogs, and other aggregators. Source groups is something that goes really well together with topics profiles. Essentially, it's a group of a source. So, for example, you may have one for competitors, so you can group all of that and listen what they're talking about. Or actually, you can use it as an exclusion because you don't want to get involved in conversations that your competitors are in, for example. Another thing quite cool from Social Studio in comparison to other potential applications that are there is engagement macros, and that works quite similar to the macros of Salesforce Service Cloud. So in essence is the ability to collect in one button that you're going to give access to your users to do multiple things. For example, you may give them the ability while they have a conversation and they're going to answer, just to click one button, and that conversation will be assigned to them. It will set the status as whatever, and it can change the sentiment and do some other things, just with one click. And then you have labels, and you have two types of labels. So the label could be for the post itself. So a complaint or a compliment, one can hope, or labels for the authors. So maybe I'm chatting with your company and you want to tag me for Football Club Barcelona. So next time we talk and we won a match, then you may want to mention that, or you maybe want to tag me as VIP if that's the case. And the last thing I wanted to cover as a concept of Social Studio is sentiment model. And it's a model that is out of the box, and it's out of 3. They simplified it over a year ago. So it will give you the overall feeling about your brand in terms of is positive, neutral, or negative. So it has its own algorithm, and you can actually tweak it because sarcasm is quite difficult to grasp. So you have the ability to add and change some of the things, even that is one-off. And all of this comes really nice together with something called workspaces. So in Social Studio, you have the ability to group all these things, for example, for a particular market. If you have different social accounts for different areas of the world, or by brand, for example, you may have, Salesforce is a good example. You may have a workspace for Salesforce UK and all the related content in there, and only specific users will have access to that. It will be different to the conversations you're jumping in and the source groups that you may be listening to in Salesforce Japan. So, so that's how you kind of like group and give the access to specific users. One of the things that we're not having time, I tapped today for is like a plugin called Social Studio Automate, or the weirdo, how I like to call it. But it's something that helps you to do that automate. So you can have data sets that grasp all the information, and then you can say, OK, so if things coming in to a particular, with particular keywords or whatever else, always put them this label and then send them here and give them X assignment and things like that. So overall, the data flow in Social Studio is fairly simple. So you have your native applications, and once they are connected in Social Studio, they kind of, all the information is coming in the Marketing Cloud suite. By Social Studio, in the part of listening. So you can see that there. Now, if you want to send this information to Service Cloud, you have 2 options, either with our friend Automate, as I mentioned, or with manual engagement. So those macros, that button that I was mentioning earlier, one of the options is to send that conversation into a case or a lead into Salesforce. Either of these 2 options, what it does is map that information into an Apex class, and that comes from the package of the connector, and that will be mapped to standard objects, and you can give the ability for agents, for example, in the Service Cloud to answer straight from Service Cloud. When that happens, the information comes all the way back into the Marketing Cloud suite, Social Studio, but the part of publishing, the part that allows you to do outbound messaging, and then from there gets sent to the native media. So, right, because of today's setup, I don't really want to tell you a story, but make up a story together. So I was hoping to take a picture of all of you, but through the camera, I think it may be a bit difficult. So I took a picture earlier on. And what we're going to play is use that picture in Social Studio Live, so you all can get involved. So I will know who's listening and how much you're paying attention. And with that, we go to demo. Right. So welcome to Social Studio. So here is the part where you land, and it gives you the ability to select your workspaces. So you may have, again, as we talked earlier, for a specific country, a specific brand. And because I'm so creative, we have one workspace called Ines Demo for Ines Demo things. In this section, let me make it slightly bigger. I think it will be better. Right. So at the top, you have 3 sections, the publish, engage, or analyze. We'll go through all of them. Before anything, we will publish one of the items that I have in draft that I just mentioned. So today, I had a tweet as draft. Let's edit this. So in the part of publishing, for example, you could do exactly that. So you may have a draft for somebody else to have a look before it goes into publish. You select to which social account is this going to be sent through. You'll add your content, your tags, and your things like that. And then the image that we took this morning with social distancing. So here in publish, you can add your images. You can also get images from connected apps, for example, get the images or something like that. You could add labels for that post in Outbound, and then either publish just now or schedule it for specific time. And then, of course, for example, we have Bitly that we could shorten any links and then add web analytics if we wanted to. So the idea here is I'm going to publish it and then interact with it, because we will then use these interactions that you guys having at home to see how this is surfaced for any users in Social Studio and what are the things that they can do with it. Let's go. Right, so I let you go and find that, but I will continue talking in name of time. So yeah, here in the publish section, as you've seen, is a calendar view. And you can change this for day, weekly, or whatever. How you post things is very straightforward. You just click whichever day you want, and you will select which social account, as we just did with Twitter. One of the things interesting here is notes. So if multiple people are looking after the publishing of your company, you may want to add some notes for specific days, like summer sales coming up or something like that. Notes are good for that. Then you can filter things by schedule or publish or whatever else, the labels and all of that. From publish, really, the only couple things, I guess, worth mentioning is performance. It's not been my best week, so you will say. So here you see the engagements and the tweets and all of that. Clearly, I've been very active today in comparison to the rest of the week. And you have the concept in publish of sharing content. So shared content gives you the option, for example, if one of the tweets today have worked really, really well for a specific workspace, so and it's for a specific brand, maybe you want to promote it. So we were talking about the example of Salesforce UK and maybe Salesforce Japan. So if one of the outbound messages have worked really well for UK, you maybe want to try out to share it with another workspace. So those users that have access there have the ability to tweak it and then send it and see if that works well for them too. So before we go through engage and all of that, just to give you a bit more time so you can answer, like, and do all these things with the tweet that I just sent, we're going to dive deep a bit into the admin section. I would imagine the majority of the viewers of this session would get involved here. Okay, so you can do a lot of different things. In name of time, I think I'm only going to show you a few. So social accounts, straightforward, is where you manage. You will add a new account, remove, reauthorize if the credential change, and things like that. Engagement macros, what we talked about, it gives you the ability to give one button to your users, and that will do multiple things. So let's just create one for an example. We call it in progress. So to be able to use it, you need to give it a workspace. Well, thanks. Let's see, what's that? Demo Ines? Ines demo, there you go. So we added to this particular workspace. So the users that have access to that workspace will be able to use this button. And then we say, okay, so when they use this button, they can say that it's in progress. So it's being reviewed and they deciding what to answer. That helps if you have other users engaged at the same time, that they're not going to be answering the same post, so they know that somebody else is working on it. And then you can give it assignment. So an assignment, for example, will be for if you need to escalate something, always a particular user, or in this case, you just assign it to the current user. You will be able to change sentiment, blah, 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 blah. And then, as I said, you have the ability to send it to Salesforce. I'll tell you later how I feel about it. And of course, a description, guys, is very important. We should always document what we're doing. All right, then. So that's macros. Engagement responses is like a quick text from Service Cloud. So again, we have one quick here that we could be using later. Users, you can have as many users as you want. And you have 3 options of users roles. So roles in Social Studio are like profiles in Salesforce and are static. You don't have the ability to change, have this profile and then I change those different things. You either have basic user, which I would recommend always give that one. Either you have admin only, which I doubt you will be using much, because if you use admin only, you don't have the ability to create analytics. You have full user, that is like super power user. So only give that to yourself and maybe one more. And then you have one between basic and full called, I'm sorry. So you have full user in the middle and then super user and super user. So the full, please don't use it because it's giving the ability to any basic user to change things in the workspace. So for me, it's quite redundant. Right, so we talk about topic profiles. How that works is about fetching that information from different sites. So we have one that I created specific for the Trailblazer community. So you could be saying, OK, so let's create a topic profiles for a specific language or media types. You can sometimes exclude aggregators or specific sites for regions of the world. And the moment I wanted to bring everything, I created 2 different keyword groups. One is all about London's calling over here, so hashtag or without hashtag and things. And then created another one that is Trailblazer community related. So let's make it a bit bigger. One of the cool things here is this squiggly thing. So keywords, it can be together. You can see Salesforce and community. And then it gives you the ability as well to say proximity. So the squiggly thing, as I call it here, is set up as 5 words. So this means that the topic profile will bring me anything that it will contain Salesforce and community that is up to 5 words apart. So you could do this with by phone and things like that. It gives you, so you don't have to create so many different variations, just proximity does the job for you. And source groups, as we talked about. So I'm excluding anything that comes from a source group called competitors. So I put some brands over here. But let's have a look at other source groups that you may want to listen to. So yeah, you can use it as exclusion. But you can use it as well just to hear a group of users that you want. So I created a source group called influencers. So of course, I will add myself next to Benioff and Leah and the organizers and some other people from London's Calling. And one more thing from the admin section, which is, we have the sentiment model that gives you the ability to tweak. We were talking about sarcasm earlier. And you can change the model and change some of the words. So perhaps sick comes as negative, but nowadays people use it in a positive manner, so you can change it. And one which I was talking about a couple of weeks ago that I thought is very rare occasion, but comes quite handy, is much more relevant a few days ago, is this crisis management. So this was released maybe 3 releases ago, and with one click, gives you the ability to pause anything that you have in publishing, because the last thing you want is to be like, yeah, my brand is so awesome, when maybe in the world are actually thing is not appropriate. So that will be one that I would imagine quite a few people have used recently. All right, so you had enough time to play and answer that tweak. Let's find out if you actually did your homework. See what you've done, what I've done there. So in Engage is where you will be answering what people are tagging you, or is where you will be getting involved in those conversations from the topic profiles. So let's bring my Twitter account first. There you go. But I don't want everything here. Let me bring all the things from today. And I'm going to filter, because I don't care about the things that I post. So I only want media types from mentions, what people are talking to me about. And inbound messages, no, I'm not going to let you see that. There you go. Apply. OK, there we go. I can see some of the things coming that I've been tagged on, which I can respond. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So from here, for example, before I scroll everything, I can like, and if I have multiple Twitter accounts, I could decide which one I could DM, respond, or whatever else. We can see here some retweets, right, from that tweet that we posted earlier. We can utilize those macros that we created. So clicking just this would update the status. It will update who owns that particular post. So this is the user that I'm logged in under. We could have added priority and other things. You can see activities on the thread of the conversation also. And you can see here the author labels, you know. We can add specific tags. So we know next time we speak with Amanda, some information that maybe another user needs. We could be, thank you. Well done, doing your homework, guys. And then here we could be adding this engagement response, right? So I had one kind of sort of ready, so we could be answering here. So that is for a particular social account. But let's go and find out what's happened with the topic profile. So let's bring the one from the Trailblazer community. And let's do something similar. So only fetch info from today. And we could be filtering in similar manner, again, by types and maybe keywords through specific regions and so on. But it's really powerful because you can get involved with conversations that you are interested on, and just you wouldn't have the ability to, or will take a lot of manpower to do so. And you can continue adding other columns. You can add different, different tabs if you want to have all the Facebook different social accounts in one page and other ones for topic profiles and so on. Okay, and in name of time, oh dear. Right, let's go to the very last section, which is analyze. So we're collecting a lot of data so far, right? So things that people are talking to you, that you're telling them, things that you're interested on. And data by itself doesn't do much, so we want to understand it better. So you look really cool just creating one dashboard. And let's do one about our topic profile of Trailblazer community. So couple clicks. Go and make a cup of tea, not even, and it looks like you've been working so hard. All these things come out of the box. You don't have to do anything, and your boss will be very happy. Here you have like the feed. You can see the volume of the posts, where they're coming about for that topic profile, the trend of the media. You know that Twitter is a powerful one for the Trailblazer community. You have influencers here, the use of words, sentiment overall, countries, lots of different things. And the great thing here is you just can click anywhere. You're not going to break anything, and it gives you the option just to understand it a bit better, to see the feed, even to get involved from here. So super powerful, just out of the box. But you don't really have the ability to tweak it very much or customize it. For that, instead of a dashboard, what you will be using is something called Workbenches. And let's use the same one and bring me Trailblazer community topic profile, but you could be using it for that, Twitter or multiple Twitter accounts, and say, okay, so out of this volume of posts that my topic profile have broke down, let's break it down by country, by segment. And at the same time, I want to break that by specific keyword groups that I have, so I can see what is bringing that volume out of the two, and then you can tweak it and run it again and things like that. And more, as more you want, the more you can understand and go deeper and deeper into your data. But that's not it. Sometimes you even want to do more things with the data than maybe Workbench lets you so far. So you can create reports. So you could be creating a report that you will send you on weekly basis, maybe a CSV or a PDF and all of that. Okay, I just really need to wrap up. Time flies when you're having fun. So fairly quickly here is that this is what I showed earlier. And I'm banging on about the flow of the data for quite a reason here. So that default Apex class, when the things get mapped in Salesforce, it kind of looks, is this post exist already? If it does, you can select to have it within the same thread or keep it within the same case. It looks about, do I have a social persona, which is an object to hold. For example, for me, you will have one for Twitter, one for Facebook, one for all of that, and that will sit with the contact. Now, here I'm asking you for help as well. Please go to tiny.cc/social studio. It's an idea of the idea exchange. And I need some votes and I need some love, because that connector needs to get better. So the product management needs to see some extra votes there. The problem that I see today is that every time you will be sending data through that Apex class into Salesforce, what's happened is that you most likely have that contact already. You have their name, surname, you have, all that real data. You like it or not, if it's the first time you're sending something from that particular social account for that particular individual, you will be creating a record for the social post, a record either for the lead or for the case, a record for the contact, which will be empty, and the only required field is the last name. And we all know that some of the things that we set up as last name in social media is not accurate. So you may have a completely empty contact record. The only information that you have is Mr. Potato. That's it. So how accurate is that? Not only that, but those records are redundant. They're your customers. You already have that there. It uses a storage that is completely unnecessary. It generates confusion when your pure users gets to those cases to work on. And on top of that, it creates contacts without accounts, and those are orphan contacts, and it's a big no-no on how to handle. Even in Trailhead says, don't create contacts without accounts. Yet this thing it does. So when I came across this, I thought, well, I don't like it. I cook my own, and of course you have APIs for Social Studio. The thing is, Social Studio is already an amalgamation of two previous acquisitions. So you only can fetch data of what you have published. So you can create your own connector to bring cases about complaints or servicing that you need. You can. The only thing that you can fetch is what you have said to the world. So there you go. I do have a workaround, and the title of this slide is how I feel about it, but in the meantime, it will keep you going. So you can tweak the Apex class, the default Apex class that maps things into the objects, into a dummy account and a dummy contact. So absolutely everything that you will be sending from Social Studio to Salesforce Service Cloud will be mapped to this dummy record. Always to the same one. Now, to make the life of your users easier, I guess, you can create a validation rule and say every time you're going to work in a case that has the dummy contact, then you need to find the right contact. And if you are kind enough, maybe create a flow that will display potential contacts with the same surname. This is where we are. So I really need your votes. Tiny.cc, Social Studio, let's get the connector better. All right, and I really need to wrap up. So ask me in Twitter any questions, anything that I may need to clarify. I'll be delighted. Thank you ever so much to spend this time with me. And let's go to the keynote. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Peter Coffey, Vice President for Strategic Research at Salesforce. I'm here live on the expo floor at Dreamforce, still the world's largest single company technology event. The word capado, it means you've got this, and I think that's what people want from DevOps. They want a high level of assurance so that they can go do what they do, which is understand their customers and bring them an experience they've never had before. I'm Peter Coffey with Salesforce, encouraging you to build on capado.